Welcome to the Lost Interviews with Ray Shaw Show.
Hello, Susanna?
Yes, hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, and you?
I'm doing great, thank you. Me and you are 10 days apart in our age.
Oh my gosh.
You are 10 days older than me.
Wow. It was a very good year, wasn't it?
It was a good year. I was born on the 27th in 59.
Jeez, that's so cool.
So we probably would have graduated high school together. What, 77 maybe?
I was 76 actually.
Oh.
I know I'm a little off from most of the people of our year.
Right.
I skipped half of fifth grade, so it put me. I was one of the youngest ones in my group. There was a thing that they were doing in California, or maybe just in LA, where they were swapping. They were trying to shift the starting age of school or something. So anyway, anybody who was my age that year had a choice to either repeat half of fifth grade, to repeat something, or to just move up to the next grade. And so my brothers and I, we all just moved up. So we were all the youngest ones in our graduating classes of high school, yeah.
Oh boy, you were lucky. I was actually the first ones to get bused to a black school.
Oh, interesting. We had our school was part of a busing program too.
Right.
It was a really interesting time, wasn't it, when you look back historically at what was going on?
Oh yeah, you can't even explain it to people nowadays, you know?
It's very interesting. I mean, there was a lot of interesting stuff going on just, I don't know, just in the world. I'm very fascinated by the 70s. I think part of that is the nostalgia of going back and sort of wanting to understand what was going on around us when we were in our sort of formative coming-of-age years, you know. There was a famous book written about my high school called The Class of 65.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Palisades High. So I know that when I was in high school, that book was really interesting to me. So now everything about, you know, the 70s and that period of time is extremely interesting to me again.
Well, the greatest time for music was definitely the 60s, and then the 70s after that.
Yeah, you know? I mean, I'm actually already working my way up to the 80s.
Are you really?
I never thought that I would say that, but I have a new appreciation for the 80s.
Well, the 80s was a good time, you know? I mean, I remember, you know, like Kenny Rogers was really hot, and Lionel Richie, and those ballad songs were, you know, they were beautiful back in that time, you know? That's when I got married. I got married in 83. So, yeah, it was a good time. I remember Christopher Cross was, you know, really big around that time, you know, with Arthur, and You know, I always like talking to someone my age, because most of the guys I talk to are, you know, of course, they're the legendary guys from the 60s and 70s, and now they're in their 60s, and sometimes I get someone as old as 81 or 82. As a matter of fact, I just talked to Petula Clark not too long ago.
Oh, how fantastic.
She was 81.
Oh my goodness,
and
I love her.
She sounds so cool, and I talked to Judy Collins recently as well.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So I know that you're writing for different things. What can you remind me what the different one is? An article for, is it the Examiner?
Yeah, my column, I have a classic rock music column on Examiner.
Okay.
I mean, I've probably interviewed more people in 2 years than Rolling Stone has ever done.
Oh my God.
It's amazing, and I do a great job of promoting. You know, I've got, sometimes I get like between 10 and 20,000 page views for one day.
Oh, that's great.
So then I got.
Are we talking about? I wasn't sure what you wanted to talk with me about in terms of, you know, just for the different things you were working on. And then there was a book or something. Or?
Yeah, I'm writing a book that's going to be 100 of the most, you know, the recent interviews with the greatest music legends of our time.
Oh wow.
I want to put you in there as well.
Ah.
And I want to include a CD that will also have the live, because I record all my interviews. Then we'll probably get it edited. I'm thinking about getting it edited by, gosh, what's his name? He played with Yes, and he does a lot of, you know, production, and he's a good, really good, Billy Sherwood. I'm trying to probably get Billy Sherwood to edit my CD because he does a great job.
Okay, yeah. I would want to probably have a chance to sign off on that. I guess if it was on a CD, would that be?
Sure. Oh yeah, that's totally up to you. We can leave it just on print if you like. And
I think I would rather just be on print.
Okay, that'll be fine.
Music questions and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But what I do, I'm very good at promoting artists, and first thing we'll talk about, I guess, is the latest solo release, which was Somebody.
Someday.
Oh, Someday, I'm sorry.
Yes, no problem.
And my favorite song on that was Holding My Breath, because it did remind me of the 60s, and it did remind me of those days with the orchestra behind and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Picture Me was a great tune as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really like the album, and your voice sounds better than ever. It's incredible.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. How do you do that?
I don't know. I mean, I think... maybe it's like wine, it gets better with age. I don't know. I take pretty good care of myself.
Right.
And I've learned over the years, to be careful with my voice, not to go to a loud event the night before I have to sing and be screaming over whatever music or at a sporting event or at a party or something where I wake up the next day and I can't speak. So, I've gotten better at protecting my voice. I think one of the things about Someday, that record, was that the writing was all done in a kind of a short period of time.
Right. And
working with Mitchell Froom, we really tailored the arrangements to make room for the voice, so it's not competing for space, sonic space to cut through. And I also have learned, I use a capo, so I've learned to key songs that feel right for my singing, like to actually put the song in a key that makes sense. And I think that's a huge thing when you kind of get to that point where you're like, wait a minute, this is too low or this is too high.
Yeah.
And you find that sweet spot where it fits right perfectly, in your vocal range. So that I think was just like, over the years of writing, you just kind of learn stuff as you go, and that was one of the things that I learned.
You got a pretty cool collaborating partner there with Andrew too.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
That was a surprise. That was real. And we're writing and recording now, so it's ongoing.
Where did you meet Andrew?
I met him through my niece who grew up in Nashville. She had moved from Nashville upon graduating from college from Vanderbilt University in Nashville. She moved to LA, and I was spending a lot of time with her, and she said, I want you to meet my friend who's in a band. I've been a real fan of his work, and it led to a friendship with Andrew, and then he needed a place to stay, so he stayed in our guest room for a while. And just one of those kids who was always playing music. He just took a guitar wherever he went, and I started to hear him just noodling around on chords and just, I don't know, humming along to something, and I didn't know if it was an existing song or not, and he would always say, no, just something I'm messing around with, and then that led to me saying, oh, well, what if we put this melody on it? And before I knew it, we were writing songs together.
Who would ever thought,
I know.
That's amazing. You always think, well, she's going to collaborate with, somebody that's been around for years and years and a legendary artist, but you just don't know. You never know who's going to mesh well with you, I guess.
Yeah, we got lucky. I got lucky meeting him, and it worked out well for he feels really good about the collaboration as well, so it was a win-win.
Yep. And you got a great record producer with Mitchell, because man, I remember him back in the day when he was with Ronnie Montrose with Gamma.
Really?
Yeah. He started early with he played with Ronnie for a while.
You're kidding.
Yeah, he did.
I never knew that.
That was a good band too, Gamma. Yeah.
Huh.
Yep. So he's been around a long time,
Yeah. I mean, I knew Mitchell in the 80s when he was working with Crowded House.
Right.
And he actually played on our song Manic Monday on the recording.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yes. So that's when I first met Mitchell, but it was a chance meeting. We lived very near each other in Los Angeles, so we would occasionally run into each other at local restaurants and stuff like that, but then I ran into him at a really great music venue called Largo, and I was with Andrew, and that's how the whole project sort of took shape of doing a record together was when I ran into Mitchell at Largo at a concert. And so, yeah, he's great. He's super talented.
So you guys are recording again? Are you doing another solo?
Yep.
Okay. When can we expect that to be released?
Probably, I mean, we're just beginning it, so probably 2015. Definitely not this year.
Yeah, great. Well, the last one was 2012, so that's about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about right.
I mean, it's busy for me. It's always a bit of a juggling act because, I've got a lot of stuff going on with the Bangles and other projects that I'm working on, other things I'm doing, creative things in my life that are actually outside of music, but still creative. So it's just always like, I feel like I'm always juggling. Every day is like, okay, I'm going to slot time in here for this thing, and then I'm going to jump over and work on Bangle stuff, and then I'm going to jump back. It's a little bit crazy, but I enjoy the energy of it.
Now, how old are your kids now?
19 and 15.
Okay, so you're pretty much out of the, really worrying about them too much.
I don't think you ever stop worrying about your kids. I know my parents are still worrying about me.
I know.
No, it's definitely in a new phase of them being very, very well launched now as young adults.
Yep.
And so that definitely opens up more time in my schedule to focus on music and these other creative endeavors, which is nice.
Yeah. Now, your mom, is she 79?
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. You're 10 days older than me. My mom is 90.
Oh, wow.
My kids are 28 and 26. What happened?
Earlier. You got married in 1983.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
I got married 10 years later, so...
Okay. But
I think my 20s were basically given over to life on the road, touring with the Bangles. That kept me so busy I couldn't, consider doing anything but just like hoping for a good night's sleep.
Yep.
And then what city am I in?
I know.
Where am I? What room am I in this hotel? Like, I don't know how I ever remembered that where I was, because it moved that fast.
Yeah, it did. I talked to Lita Ford and Cherie a lot, and Cherie's got kind of the same story. Now her son, is older now, and she never had the chance either to really settle down and
she's probably enjoying that now.
She really is, and her and Lita have gotten to be really good friends again.
Oh, good.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, she's really nice. Both those girls are nice. I ran into Cherie, the Roxy. Gosh, it's several years now. I don't even remember what we were doing there. We were performing I was performing with the Bangles, but I can't remember what it was for. But she was so nice. The Runaways were a really cool group, and of course Michael Steele, the bass player during our Columbia years, was a member of the Runaways for a brief period of time.
Yep, that's pretty cool. Did you follow the Runaways? Before you guys got into the Bangles? Because
I wasn't that familiar with the Runaways.
Really?
I was a little bit aware of them, but I think it was Cherry Bomb was their song.
Yeah, that's the biggie.
I knew it. Yep. And I knew of Joan Jett. Wait, was Joan Jett in the Runaways for a period?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Right.
Yep.
And I knew who Kim Fowley was. I actually talked to him on the phone once when I was just when I graduated from UC Berkeley. I came back to LA, and that's when I was trying to put together a band. I put an advertisement in the Recycler, which was a paper that was sort of the Craigslist of its time, and I had some flyers around town, and then I met the Petersons, and we made a single, for like $35 at a $10 an hour studio in Venice, California, and called Radio Tokyo, actually, and we really wanted our record to be on the radio and on KROQ. So I tracked down Rodney. Right around the time that I tracked down Rodney, somehow managed to get his phone number. I was pretty determined and tenacious at that time to make it happen for the Bangles. So I found a way to find Rodney. I don't know how I did that, but I did. And then I called him, and I met him at the Odyssey Club, where he was a DJ one night a week, and I brought him the 45 single that the Bangles had done, and he played it every weekend for like a year after that. But at that time, I remember somehow Kim Fowley got my number and called me. It was those guys were very much tastemakers and on the LA scene in the early 80s, and obviously in the late 70s as well.
Yeah. Yeah, he was really into the girl band thing. He's very intelligent, but also a little weird.
Oh, So I never really got to know Kim, but
Yeah.
you know, he's worked with so many people
Yeah.
that I know, and
Yeah.
yes, very, very smart man.
He's kind of sick now, is what I understand. That's what.
I don't keep up with what's going on,
Yeah.
but I did hear something about that.
Yeah. Now, you know, obviously we would have been in the same high school together and everything. But who were some of the people that really influenced you growing up?
Oh man, there's so many. Well,
Yeah.
starting in the '60s,
Right.
I would say many bands, but the Beatles being the toppermost for me. But I mean, so many bands: the Byrds, the Buffalo Springfield, the Mamas and the Papas. Gosh, I can't even get the Kinks, the Zombies, and a lot of these bands. Like for example, I probably didn't know the Zombies were the Zombies. I just heard their hits on the top 40 radio that was always blaring in our car.
Yep.
My mom would drive us around going up in LA. You're in a car a lot. We didn't have rapid transit here in LA, so we were just kind of riding around in a station wagon listening to music.
Right.
So all of that great stuff, along with a lot of the great female singers of the time of that period, Petula Clark, Lulu, Dusty Springfield, Dionne Warwick. My mom had all the Burt Bacharach, Hal David songs sung by Dionne Warwick. I mean, many people covered their songs, but we had those Dionne Warwick records, and I still, to this day, those Burt Bacharach, Hal David songs just move me so much, and I love them, and I love singing them. I got a chance to sing Alfie in the Austin Powers.
That's cool. Yeah.
Third Austin Powers movie. That was fun.
Yeah, that was your husband, right?
Four times. He's great.
Yeah, your husband, Jay Roach, right?
Yep.
Yep.
So, but yeah, so I would say the '60s.
Yep.
So many great artists, and then I kind of got in the '70s into singer-songwriters like Joni Mitchell and James Taylor and Carole King.
Right.
As well as bands like Yes, and you know, there was just a lot of great stuff in the '70s. There was definitely a period where the end of the '70s, when the whole punk rock revolution happened musically, and I got very into those groups at a time when it started to become an idea in my head. Wow, you know, I could do this. Especially first hearing a band like, for example, the Ramones.
Yep.
Because they were like punk pop, you know, and I thought, well, gosh, I know those same 3 or 4 chords. I could probably get an electric guitar and change my whole sound from something that seems kind of folky.
Yeah, exactly.
to a Ramones style treatment of a pop song. And then Blondie, the Talking Heads were a big influence. Television out of New York, that whole scene, kind of bands like Television that led me back to bands like the Velvet Underground that, you know, I kind of didn't know about when I was a little kid, what they were up to. I mean, I'd heard of Andy Warhol. My mom had been a painter, and she later became a screenwriter, but she started out as a painter, so I knew a lot about the art scene of the 60s through my parents, but I didn't really know the Velvet Underground's music until probably the late 70s when I rediscovered all of that. And and even like Nick Lowe, early Elvis Costello. It was a really interesting time, and I think that the fact that you could go to local clubs and see, I mean, I saw so many great bands at that time. I saw the Talking Heads at the Whiskey A Go-Go, probably their first tour. You know, I saw the Undertones. I think I saw the Jam. I think I saw Blondie back then. Some of it's a blur and some of it's very clear.
Yeah.
Going to see the Talking Heads at the Whiskey A Go-Go was profound. I saw the early Go-Go shows. It was a great time.
It was a great time. You know, I was a top 40 disc jockey back in the late 70s and then through the 80s, so I played a lot of your stuff.
Oh, well, thank you.
But you're right, that was a great time. You know, it was a good time for music. And the Cars, of course, were, you know, huge.
Oh, yeah, they were great, but that was further into the 80s.
Well, yeah.
Did you say the Cars?
Yeah, the Cars. No, they started probably in the late 70s.
Yeah, you're right. But
Yeah.
I wasn't as aware of them till the 80s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep, and it was, when I think of you guys, of course you always think of the Go-Go's too. It's were they kind of a rivalry between you guys or not really?
I mean, not really. The Go-Go's started before us, so we got compared to them a lot.
Yep.
And when the Bangles were starting to take off, more like the mid-'80s, the Go-Go's were actually winding down.
Right, that's true.
So but it was kind of a funny rivalry fueled by just the fact that the press obsessed on it so much.
Yeah,
but we really got along well and hung out with them and got to know them. And to this day, I'm in touch with Belinda and Charlotte and Kathy, and I've kept in touch with them.
Well, didn't you write a song for Belinda or for the?
Oh yeah. I worked on some songs for Belinda's first record, her first solo record. And we were really good friends in the 80s, and then I worked a lot with Charlotte, Kathy, and with Jane. Jane's an incredible songwriter. I forgot to mention that I've spent a lot of time with Jane over the years, and she's incredible.
It's funny because I never knew Manic Monday was written by Prince.
Oh no! Wow!
I never knew that.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Now, how did Prince? Did he present that song to you guys, or how did that work?
Well, we were recording at the time with David Kahn, and we were working with David and Peggy Leonard.
Okay.
They were sound engineers, recording engineers, I should say, who worked a lot with Prince. And somehow Peggy was actually working on Prince's record at the Sound Factory on Sunset Boulevard, while David Leonard, her husband, was working on our record at the sister studio called Sunset Sound Factory.
Right.
Sorry, Sunset Sound Factory. So we got word that Prince had some songs, and he wanted me to come over to the Sound Factory. It's very confusing here, but to the studio, the studio that was the main studio that we were at, the smaller version of.
Okay.
I drove over there, picked up a cassette, and it had Manic Monday on it, and then we recorded it. So that's how that happened. But Prince had been really, I think he had seen the Hero Takes a Fall video on MTV, and that's how he had kind of discovered the Bangles. And then he came to at least 2 shows and performed with us on stage.
How about
I think he might have seen us the first time, and then the second time performed with us, and then performed with us again in San Francisco. But so he was like an early fan of the band, and that turned out to be like an incredible thing for us, because we were very much, like the rest of the world, in awe of Prince and his talent and his songs and his incredible stage presence. And I really learned a lot watching him. And then the gift of Manic Monday, I mean, that was very unexpected, but it turned out to be such an amazing thing for us, because it ended up being our first song that really worked its way up the charts and went into the top 5. I think its highest chart position was number 2, I think. But I mean, it was a big hit for us, and that was really got our name out there. So that was really amazing that Prince thought to give us that song.
Yeah, everybody can identify with Manic Monday.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Every Monday is like that. It's a good theme song for Mondays.
Yes, it is. How did you get Leonard Nimoy involved in going down to Liverpool, that music video?
Well, I grew up with the Nimoys. I went to preschool with his kids.
Okay.
So
that's funny.
When I was like 4 years old, I met the kids, and
that's cool.
Adam and Julie, and our parents became really, really close friends. This was pre-Star Trek, and through all the Star Trek stuff, we remained like very, very good family friends. And
how cool is that?
It's very cool. And so I guess we were looking to do a video, and I thought, maybe I should call Leonard up, ask him.
That is so cool.
I did.
Yeah.
I got my nerve up, up, and I called him, and he said sure.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big Trekkie fan. The original Star Trek, of course.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and your family's Jewish, and I think Leonard's Jewish as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think William Shatner is too, as a matter of fact.
I think so. I'm not sure, but I think you're probably right.
I grew up, my dad's Jewish, and my mom's Catholic. And now, can you imagine that?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, but, the family left her alone because she was tough, and, we were, we celebrated both.
Good.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Your biggest hit was probably Eternal Flame, right?
I think Eternal Flame or Rock Like an Egyptian. I think Eternal Flame, both songs went to #1, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That's just, sometimes I think my life is very surreal, when I look back. And But I think Eternal Flame really was, like, very big in Europe. I think Egyptian, Rock Like an Egyptian might have lasted longer, like was #1 for like 4 weeks in America. But
right.
There were some countries where Eternal Flame was on the charts for like 6 weeks or so. I don't know. It was both of them were big hit singles for us. Yeah.
And that was the inception of that song was kind of like Graceland. You were thinking of that.
Yeah. The Bangles had been on tour, and
right.
we wanted to have a tour of Graceland,
right.
and we got what we were told was the special tour given to rock bands. So we got to see things that not everybody got to see, and it was like our own tour with our own tour guide dedicated just to us, and rather than part of a larger tour group.
Right.
So yeah, it was based on the Garden of Memories, I think it's called, where they have an eternal flame there for Elvis, but it was out that day, so that was the sort of funny. Well, I don't know if it's funny, but it was just the irony was that it was out, and so we stood around and sang Heartbreak Hotel, kind of a la Spinal Tap, as a little homage to Spinal Tap, and our little, sort of thing to do on our tour of Graceland.
Yeah.
And later I was recounting the story to my songwriting partner at the time, Billy Steinberg, and he said, wait, stop. It's a great story, but Eternal Flame, let's write a song called Eternal Flame. And I was like, okay. And that's how it started.
That's a beautiful song.
Thank you.
That's probably my favorite.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, that's a great tune. The other, not too many people talk about this song, A Hazy Shade of Winter. Was that your idea?
Yeah, actually it was.
I figured that.
During the very early days of the Bangles, we had met through the Recycler. We had decided to become a band, and we were rehearsing, and I think we had started playing some parties and clubs and things around town, and I was working for my aunt and uncle who owned a ceramic factory in Santa Monica, and it was a very lonely job because I would be down in this basement just with a radio, sanding these ceramic little pottery pieces, and I would spend hours in this sort of dark room by myself with nothing but the radio. Boy, I'm glad I had the radio to keep me company because I had it tuned to the oldies station,
right.
and I was very familiar with Simon and Garfunkel, most of their songs, because I was extremely into their music when I was in high school. But I hadn't heard Hazy Shade of Winter, and it came on the radio, and I thought, oh, wow, this is perfect for the Bangles. It's got this riff that's so catchy, and it's got all these harmonies, and it's kind of folk rock. It's just right up our alley. So I think I had a rehearsal that very night, and I mentioned it. Vicky was a huge Simon and Garfunkel fan. She was familiar with the song. So we just definitely learned it and put it right in our set, and it was a staple in our set. Staple, I forget how you say it, what the proper word is. It was a regular part of our set list.
Right.
How's that?
Yep.
And for years. And then I had an opportunity in the 80s to meet the producer of Less Than Zero, who I'm friends with to this day, John Avnet.
Right.
Another friend of mine, Thomas Newman, who's a brilliant composer, does scores for movies. He and I were songwriting at the time, and he said, I'm doing the score for this film. I think the soundtrack's going to be pretty fun. We're getting together a really cool group of musicians and bands, artists to contribute songs
right.
to the soundtrack and to the movie. And I mentioned the idea of Hazy Shade of Winter, and they loved it because it fit very well thematically with the movie, and it ended up being a really great thing for us to have it on that soundtrack. We did a video, and to this day, we open our set with that song.
You couldn't pick a better cover.
Thank you.
That was perfect, and I knew that was
really,
you.
Really right, and then you know, in the '80s, we got a chance to meet Paul Simon, and he was really enthusiastic about our version of it, so that made us feel happy.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, those guys were brilliant. You know, all the songwriters back in the day. You know, I love Carole King. She's always been one of my favorite songwriters as well.
She's so great.
Yeah, I'm still after her, trying to get an interview with her. She's so busy.
I wish she was on that. She's so wonderful.
You know, one thing that struck me very strange. Clear Channel, didn't they stop playing "Walk Like an Egyptian" after 9/11? Is that true?
I don't know.
That was on the internet.
Look that up. I don't remember.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of odd. I mean, Egypt hasn't done a lot of bad things.
I don't know if that was true. I heard that, but I couldn't. You know, what's the word? Confirm that actually happened.
Yeah, there's a lot of things on the internet. You gotta. Yeah. That's why I always ask the artist directly to see, if it's true or not.
It rings a bell, but I don't know. You'd have to research that one.
Right. Now the Bangles had a new. Most recent album was "Sweetheart of the Sun."
Yes.
Okay. What's up next for the Bangles? What are you guys gonna do?
Well, we're re-releasing our first EP.
Okay.
And that was put out on our manager at the time, Miles Copeland's label, called IRS Records, but at the time he had a small division of IRS, it gets very complicated here, called Faulty Products.
Okay.
And so it was released, I believe, in 1982, and it was originally with our band named The Bangs before we had to change the Bangs to the Bangles.
Right.
So it came out, I think, in 1982, and we had to change the artwork even because we had done the whole artwork and the packaging with the name The Bangs, and we had like the weekend to come up with a new name, and that's when we came up with adding three letters and calling it The Bangles. And so we're going to re-release that, as well as some never seen the light of day demos that we did around that time, maybe even 1981.
Awesome.
Like our first demos, and our first single that came out in 1981.
Right.
Which was Getting Out of Hand and Call on Me.
Right.
I'm going to include that in the package, and then a cover of 7 and 7 Is that we did at the Palace live back then as well. So it's going and anything else that we find between now and when we put it all together, it's going to come out in the fall digitally.
Okay.
So that's exciting.
That is exciting. What about a tour? Are you guys going to have another tour
Well,
soon?
we're just doing a bunch of tour dates this summer, as well as a run in the fall.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're going to do a 2-week run in the fall, and we're playing a handful of it's all on our website. You can probably go find it there. I don't want to tell you the wrong amount of dates.
I know.
It's all listed there.
Susanna, here's a question that I ask everyone that I interview, and I always get a very interesting answer. If you had a Field of Dreams wish, like the movie, to play, sing, collaborate with anyone from the past or present, who would you pick? And it could be a couple of people or a whole band, if you like.
I don't know. That's such a wide open question. There's so many people. That's the problem. Let me think about it, and I'll shoot you an email, because I just can't. When it's that, like, it just my mind goes blank because I'm just swimming around with too many people.
Okay.
I can't decide.
Okay, I'll give you time. You want to shoot it an email to Andrew or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Because I get some very interesting answers from that.
I'm sure you do.
You know what Petula Clark said? You'll never guess.
No.
Pink Floyd.
Oh, that's cool.
She wanted to play with Pink Floyd. I would have never thought. I thought that was neat.
That's super neat.
Did you travel to Israel much?
I've been there when I was a kid. I was there in the 70s.
Yeah, my family, my dad's side, that's like a big deal, to go to Israel and hang out there. So
that's marvelous. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I'd like to go. I think that'd be a great trip.
Well, I have to go pick my son up. I wanted to be able to talk to you for I know Andrew said 30 or 25 minimum, and 45 would be good. We're there. Should we start to? Is there another question? I'm going to need to head.
Unless if you have anything else to promote.
Well, I'm doing a solo. Well, I don't know. So when would you be putting it? Is it for the blog? I'm still a little confused. When might this run?
Well, I got a couple of other interviews before you. I got the original lead singer from Nazareth.
Oh, cool.
I've got, let's see, who else? I got, see, now my mind's not working.
That's okay.
Andy Summers from The Police.
Oh, that's great.
Yep.
I'm doing a solo show that I'm excited about in LA.
Okay.
That's going to be the first of hopefully a series of shows where it's going to have special guests, which unfortunately I can't tell you who's going to be on the bill yet, but they're all going to have be just kind of one of a kind shows with special guests, different ones every time, and very much following my musical bliss and pulling from just music that I did with Matthew Sweet, covers, Bangles stuff, solo stuff, covers I've never played, new songs. It's just going to be a mashup of a lot of stuff, and have a very spontaneous flavor to it, which I'm really excited about. So that's going to be July 18th at the Satellite.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Silver Lake in LA.
We'll promote that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Excellent.
Okay, good.
Well, I think I'm done here. Just
okay, good. If I can think of my dream,
that'll be great.
What were you calling it? The Field of Dreams, who I'd want to perform with?
Right, Field of Dreams Wish. Yep, Field of Dreams Wish.
I'll work on that.
Susanna, thank you for being on the call today, but more importantly, for all the incredible music you've given us and continue to bring us.
Okay, well, thank you, Ray.
Thank you. Keep in touch.
Okay, bye.
Bye, bye-bye.
Thank you for joining, and please subscribe to Ray's YouTube channel.